at our reading. It is from the True Bible Study, book of Mark. In Mark chapter 3, let's read verses 1 to 5. And he, Jesus, went again into the synagogue, and a man used to be there, having been dried. And they used to keep closely to him, if on the Sabbaths he, Jesus, will attend to that man, in order that they may accuse Jesus. And he says to the man, that is, the man having the withered hand or dried hand, you must rise up into the midst. And he says to them, is it permitted on the Sabbaths to do a good thing or to do bad, to save a soul or to kill? But the people used to be silent, and having observed around them with wrath, being caused sorrow together on the process of hardening of their heart, he, Jesus, says to the man, you must stretch out the hand. And he, the man, stretched out, and his hand was restored. Jesus went again, and that is a second time or another time, into the synagogue. And during that pastime there was a man at that location with a hand that had been dried and was continuing to be dried. In other words, it was withered. However, some people were continuing to keep closely to Jesus. They were watching Jesus, keeping close watch of him, keeping an eye of him, as with sinister or superstitious intent, watching for the opportunity, if during the Sabbaths, or during a Sabbath day, he would attend to him. He would treat the man therapeutically, take care of him as necessary. Why? For the purpose and result that they would accuse him. They were wanting to publicly speak against Jesus. And the record in Luke chapter 7 verse 6 tells us that these people were the scribes and the Pharisees. And Jesus says to the man, emphatically and specifically the man with the withered hand, you must rise up into the midst. It is imperative that you arise into the middle, the center of the group of people. And Jesus says to them, that is to the people, is it permitted, is it available or possible to be done during the Sabbaths to do a good thing, to perform that which is good from God's viewpoint? And God is the one who issues his goodness, and he sets the standard of or for what is good to be conformed to by others. So Jesus asked the question, is it permitted to do a good thing or to do bad, to perform that which is bad from God's viewpoint, to do what does not issue from God, to save a soul, to make a living human being safe? And the word translated soul literally refers to the life of the physical body, which is evidenced by breathing. Soul or breath life. Soul is what allows a person to move, to work, etc., living in the physical category. To save a soul or to kill, to end the life of a human being. But what did the scribes and Pharisees do? They were silent. They were keeping quiet. They continued not to speak at this time. Jesus was in the process of doing a good thing and saving a soul, but those men were in the process of doing a bad thing and killing a soul. After Jesus observed around or looked and mentally envisioned concerning or about them, And it's interesting to note that even though Jesus may not have physically seen something with his physical eyes regarding them, he could receive information via his Holy Spirit. So after he was mentally aware of and contemplating them, in company association with wrath. So here it is referring to God's kind of wrath, which is God's lasting angry vengeance. Jesus had that kind of wrath. It's like the heat of a burning fire. It's not a spur of the moment thing, but he had wrath. He was looking at the men and he knew what was happening. He could receive that information via his Holy Spirit. And the wrath of God is righteous. It issues right or just judgment. So Jesus was looking on them with wrath. Why? Being caused sorrow together, or caused to grieve, in conjunction with the whole situation, resting or based upon the process of hardening. And that word hardening would be of those people's heart. The word hardening, or the process of hardening, literally refers to the process by which the end of fractured bones are reunited, which is by a callus. And a callus is a mass or lump spread out in connective tissue that forms around the break of the bone, and it is converted into bone in the healing of that break. But of course, in this context, it is used in the bad sense of hardening, a process of hardening of their heart, the center or core of their being, their personal lives, which would include their attributes or attitudes, their characteristics, their qualities. They were hard against God and the things of God, and consequently against what Jesus was doing, which was God's will in this situation. And we should notice that the word heart is in the singular form, because they all had the same kind of heart. It was callous against God and his word, which Jesus was carrying out. However, even though this was all happening at the same time, Jesus says to the man, "You must stretch out, extend, stretch forth the hand." The man stretched his hand out and it was restored. It received complete restitution. It was put back into its former state, re-established. It was put back to the way that his other hand was. It was sound or healthy. This man believed what Jesus said to him and did exactly as he was instructed by Jesus. He did not rely on his own thoughts, his own ability, his own physical condition, nor did he rely on the men that were surrounding him who were against Jesus. You see, the five senses or fleshy viewpoint indicated that what Jesus said was totally illogical, because his hand was dried. So how could he stretch it out? But when the man relied on and did what Jesus said to him, his dried hand was restored. It was healed.